from the NR Hour Sports Show. This is episode 744, alongside with one of our co-hosts from the show, Vaughn from Global Kid Media. And we're joined by a really special guest today. His name is Greg Vaughn. Everybody knows him in the game. He's a former left fielder in baseball in the major leagues. He played for the Brewers, Padres, Reds, Devil Rays, and Rockies. It's truly an honor to have him on the show. Obviously, he had a legendary career of over a 240 batting average, 355 home runs, and over 1,000 RBIs. I just want to say thank you for joining us today. And Greg, how are you and your family doing so far? And I know you're located in Vegas, right now?
Yeah, I have a home in Vegas, but I'm from California, so I spend majority of my time probably in California. I would say Vegas now, because tomorrow's a soft opening for my Restore company. So, I'm in Vegas. It's the first one we have here in Las Vegas or in Nevada. So we open up that tomorrow. My Greg Vaughn wine, it's been a busy year, and then with the Vaughn's Valley Foundation, trying to help people through this pandemic and feed people and, give PPE to, our first responders. And, it's been an interesting last, year or so.
So I'm going to let Vaughn start off here first.
Yeah, I want to know first and foremost, throughout this entire last year of quarantine, we've all had some different activities, some new hobbies. What have you been up to throughout this past year? What are some new things you picked up?
Well, when you say new things, like I said, the foundation is, as far as helping people, is number one. But man, pickleball. I have 3 pickleball courts in my backyard now, and I love pickleball. And it's I feel it's a exciting new game. Growing up playing wiffle ball as a baseball player, now you use a paddle, and I'm full on a wiffle ball player. I mean, not wiffle ball, pickleball player now.
So take me back. When was the first time that you decided on baseball? You wanted to play baseball, and did you have any role models growing up in the game while working on your craft?
Well, I did have role models. Well, first and foremost was my mother. That was my role model. I watched how she, and my grandmother also, have to put her in that category. But I had a lot. My village is huge, man, and it looks like society. From brown to white to Asian to Middle Eastern to African American. It was a whole lot of people that accounted for me being in this position. But I think at an early age, my grandmother all the time, from upstate New York, turn on the game. Living in California, Greg, turn the game on. There's a game, whether it's on the radio or whether it's TV. My mom was very athletic, and I had a cousin, Jerry Royster, who was playing before me. And he managed and played in the big leagues for a long time. And my cousin Ricky Reynolds, my mom's brother's son, we had played the same little league teams. He played in the NFL. It was just embedded in us. We were a sports family, so I think, and it was taught that I can do anything that I want to do. And I didn't really decide to play baseball until they told me to quit baseball because I was a better football player. Right. So for me, it wasn't an option. I don't like people to tell me what I can do or not do. So, after high school, and I went by 2 or 3 weeks without getting hit, I said it might not be a bad idea to quit, but I was quitting more so to prove to people that they can't tell me what I can or cannot do. And I think going forward, I didn't see myself as, a lot of people, when they get drafted, to them that's making it. My dream was to be in the big leagues and stay there. I knew getting drafted was easy, but getting to the big leagues and staying there, that was the hard part.
You mentioned football. What else was there as far as activities you were doing when you were young?
Oh, everything, man. Like I said, we made up everything. I don't know if you're way too young. I know this, but we take paper, we play football on the desk, and you with your fingers and you pop it and kick field goals that way. Sock tackle football, strike out against the garage, pickle, anything there was to do. That's when we had basketball courts in our driveway, and we shot and played games till 1 and 2 in the morning and during the summer. Anything to do with the ball, we played. We did. And during idle time, we made up games, and so, during that time, society's a little different now, but during that time, we weren't allowed to come inside and spend time inside all day long. It was like, hey, the sun's still out. But once those street lights turned pink, you had 5 minutes to get home. You had to be home before the street lights were fully eliminated. So it was, I wouldn't trade it. I couldn't imagine. I know it's a great career being a gamer and doing all this other stuff, but I wouldn't, being outside is, for me, I love it. Being an avid golfer now and, following my kids and being able to take my clubs and having friends throughout the country, I'm able to have that passion and being able to golf everywhere I go also.
So I want to ask you, take me back to your major league debut. Obviously, you made it August 10th, 1989 with the Brewers. So how grateful are you that the Brewers gave you the first opportunity to start your career? And obviously you went on to have a great, awesome career.
Well, thank you for, the words of kindness. I I wouldn't trade anything. I mean, like I said, the Brewers organization, at the time, Mr. Selig, people can say and have their own opinion. My opinion is he was like a father to me, while I was there. Wendy, his daughter, the whole Selig family made me feel important and part of their family. Bob Euchre, the list goes on. It's Uke was my fishing. I would go fishing with Uke, before games. So it, and just the fans, to be able to have a section in a stadium called Vaughn's Valley that was basically built on one-on-one relationships where I got to know these people, even when we're not drawing big, to look at your bleachers in your section and have it feel the people that were proud to be part of your valley. And, just the history and the tradition of real fans. Like I said, growing up in California, your dad could go to USC, your mom UCLA, and you go to Oregon. You know what I mean? In Wisconsin, that's where I first learned that, hey, it's the Badgers, it's the Bucks, it's the Packers, and, it's UW, it's Madison. That's it. Everything else doesn't exist. So, to be able to start off in a organization where you have Robin Yount, Paul Molitor, you have Willie Randolph, Mike Felder, Glenn Braggs, Rob Deere, just so many people to name a few, Jim Gantner, be able to start off and learn the right way and have my locker next to Robin Yount as a kid coming up and learning how to be a pro and learning what's expected and how to play and respect the game. Yeah, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
I want to go, ask about, obviously now you're doing some big things with the foundation, with the companies. Was that something you started to think about as a player? Because obviously there's conversations about you have to do something after you're done playing. You can't have baseball forever. At what point did you start thinking about what you wanted to do afterwards?
Well, I think I always had an idea of what I wanted to do, and that was, I've been blessed. I wanted to help people. I wanted to make sure that, Sacramento and South Sacramento, especially, weren't forgotten in my life or my story of where I came from, and to be able to touch kids and make a difference and touch people and make a difference in their lives. And I think with the foundation and, with the wine, 23wines.com, all this is allowing me to touch and help more people, just like the pandemic. We were able to feed over 800,000 people, between here and San Diego last year.
Oh, wow.
The PPE we were able to pass out. We were able to, one of the questions I get all the time is, what is your foundation? Who benefits? Type 1 diabetes will always be close to me. My oldest son, Corey, has type 1 diabetes, and that'll be an organization that I always support, whether I'm on the board or not on the board. But I didn't want to be pigeonholed, quote unquote, into certain organizations. So Vaughn's Valley Foundation is an organization that sort of adjusts to the times, whatever's going on during that time in society, whatever we're doing, it's or going through, or whoever needs it, fathers and families back home, Rick Jennings Foundation. And there's just so many things that we try to touch on, and there's so many people that we try to help, and without Pool Resource, Bob, Pool, and Amy and those guys, there's just so many, Amrak, Phil Oates, McConey's. There's just so many people I can't name that I couldn't do what I do without them, and so it's not me trying to take accolades for everything I do. I remember my grandmother always saying, do something without expecting anything in return. You know what I mean? So that's how I try to live my life.
So take me back. Obviously, sports is a business when it comes to movement and trades and free agency signings. Did you ever think in your career that you wanted to spend your career with one team? And how tough was it for you and your family moving from team to team throughout your career?
Well, one thing me and my ex-wife did was we made a promise to each other. We weren't going to uproot the kids and go to 3 or 4 schools a year. And even though it was tough being away from them, the stability we felt was more important. Maybe do we do it different looking back? That it's an ex-wife and not a, you know what I mean? Who knows? But at the same time, that's all I do. I see Robin Yount, I see Paul Molitor, I see Jim Gatner. They're all with the Brewers. But then all of a sudden, when we understand it's a business. I see my best friend Gary Sheffield get traded.
Yeah.
I see, we came up together, and we lived together, throughout the minors, the same draft. Basically, we spent 95% of our lives together. You know what I mean, so to speak. And now he's gone. I know it was a business, but you really don't think it's going to affect you. I think when all I knew was Milwaukee, I remember walking in there and all the emotion from the players and myself when I got traded to San Diego, but going home back to the West Coast was awesome. But it was a big adjustment for me because, now I'm trying to fit in somewhere else. I'm trying to be part of a team, not come in and change anything. And, you don't want to step on anyone's toes. You have, the great Tony Gwynn, rest in peace. You have King Cameron, rest in peace. I mean, I ended up living with Cammy when I got traded. But I think the hardest trade, or the hardest thing that I had to overcome as a player was hitting 50 home runs and being told I wasn't going to be traded. And 2 weeks before spring training, being the first person ever to hit 50 and get traded. I felt slapped in the face. I felt betrayed because you find a way to make it work at that point.
Right.
And I just felt like, dang, I did everything right. And that's still not enough. But once again, as you could probably relate is, the times that we're going through right now. That doesn't happen to some people it does. You know what I mean? So, you don't have to like it. It was a great time. I got to play with tremendous young players in Cincinnati. That was a big adjustment. But you're talking about true blue fans, the oldest organization in baseball, the following, the history. It was incredible to experience that too. They say everything always happens for a reason. We just never know what that reason is.
Speaking of Tony Gwynn, his son is coming on the show next week, so I'm really looking forward to that conversation.
Yeah, he's a big part of my life, and I'm still close to the family, him, Alicia, and and he was a mentor to my son, my oldest son, Corey. Me and Tony were really close. So then Anthony extended that bond when Corey went to San Diego State, and they worked out, and they still talk to this day. So the Vaughns and Gwynns are sort of connected forever, and I miss Tony, way too young, as far as Cammy and that team, all those guys, they're not here. But San Diego is probably one of the closest teams I've ever played on in my life. We still have a text chain of 22 to 20 to 22, 23 players.
Wow.
And we get togethers and golf tournaments and things of that nature. So for me, it's everything happens for a reason. And, my journey just happened to take me through, different cities.
You get to meet a lot of obviously teammates and competitors that you can probably learn a lot from as far as life lessons. I learned a lot from interviewing Pedro Martinez, who's obviously a World Series champion, Who is one person that you've talked to, or maybe a couple of people who've given you the best life advice, maybe outside of the game, that sticks with you to this day?
Well, like I said, I think that comes from from the home. I think my mother and grandmother, no matter what we decided to do or who we became during our journey or what our profession was, to always stay humble, always treat people with respect and be nice. It doesn't cost anything to be nice. It doesn't cost anything to say hello or open the door or do those things. During the game, I think Willie Randolph was big for me. Dave Parker was huge for me. Glenn Braggs, Mike Felder, Robin Yount, as I say, but those guys, Dave Winfield, first time I ever met him, get stuff on nothing but positive imagery, so you can watch before the games, save your money, and always Joe Carter, all those guys that were a little bit older, Cecil Fielder, all those guys were Ricky Henderson, all those guys took you under their wing. It was a brotherhood, you know what I mean? And they were like, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do to stay in the game. Kevin Mitchell, we don't mess things up. This is how, we don't have that luxury to have 9 lives. It's one of those things where they teach you what you can and cannot do. And also, like I said, from Mr. Winfield to Willie Randolph, Dave Parker, about life after baseball, being able to, save your money and know what's going on and take accountability for your own earnings. Don't give somebody the entire green light just to do whatever they want with your money. So I was a finance major. I wanted to know what was going on. And I wanted to be in charge of my own future.
Yeah. So I want to ask you though, looking at your career, obviously you had over 300 home runs and over 1,000 RBIs. But I want to ask you, take me back to the moment when you got your 300 home run and your 1,000 RBI.
I probably don't remember the RBI, and the only reason I remembered the home run is I think it was in Anaheim and playing in Tampa, and someone said you hit your 300th home run. You know what I mean? I was like, during that age, that era, I shouldn't say that age, but that era, we knew if we were playing good or not playing good. We weren't really into the stats. I tried not to. I knew if I was stinking it up or if I was playing well. I just never wanted to read the newspapers or the press because they had a job to do, whether it was doing good or bad. And I never looked at I tried not, even though you look at those scoreboards, they're massive and huge. I never tried to look at the scoreboard when my stats were up. So I didn't even know I was approaching my 300th home run. I mean, you had guys hitting 400, 500, so it was just another day. But to be able to hit 300 home runs and play the big leagues, like I said, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
What were your favorite All-Star moments? Obviously 4 of them. What were your favorite events, favorite moments?
Well, I think just being in a locker room and getting to know guys that you really didn't know. You know what I mean? It wasn't a whole lot of the teams that you played against or the guys you played against in college or coming up in the minor leagues, you had a tendency to gravitate towards. But there was times to be able to have my son play catch with Greg Maddox and Maddox was teaching Corey how to take the ball out of his glove and in Coors Field in '98. And those are the moments, being able to have my kids and my families, there, the World Series hitting 2 home runs in game 1, having, my mom, my dad, and me and my son sitting in the dugout with Tony Gwynn, and then you got Denzel, Spike Lee, and Chris Rock before the game, and we're all just chopping it up like, it's no big thing. That those are moments that you can't get back. And playing in a small market, I never really got to have those on a daily basis. So those interactions and those times, like I said, being at the ballpark with your kids, and that's what I remember. Them being a part of it. The way it is now, everything's so isolated, and people, you can't do this, you can't be on the field. like I said, I wouldn't trade my era for anything. Coming up, our kids could be in the clubhouse, they play with other kids, they got to be on the field. And, those are things that you can't teach or duplicate.
Yeah. So actually, I want to. I had Rafael Palmeiro on the show 2 weeks ago, and I asked him this question. So I'm going to ask you the same thing. I believe that he should be in the Hall of Fame too, and I believe you should be in the Hall of Fame too. How come you never got any consideration for the Hall? Obviously, I'm sure you got some votes, but how come they don't give you any more considerations like Rafael?
You know what though? I appreciate the kind words once again, like I said, but that place is special for special players.
Yeah.
I think if I didn't get injured and play in the size of ballpark that I played in, I would have had a good chance. But there's no excuses. I should have played better. That's where I wanted to be. Ralphie can hit, man. Ralphie he can pick it, he can hit. I have much love and great respect for him. He's not just a great person, but he's a great baseball player also.
Yeah.
And I was doing an interview yesterday or the day before. I said it's going to be very interesting because they have some guys coming up this year or next year that they're going to have to make some decisions on. And if the truth holds its pattern, we'll see. But if they let a couple players coming in that are coming due on this next wave, they're going to have to let everybody in. Like I said, it's what you do on the field. I didn't see anybody do anything, so who am I to say if they should or shouldn't?
Right.
I was asked if Pete Rose should be in. I think he should. He's done his time. He played the game hard. Everything he did, as far as the player, no one did better. And so, that bleep that he had after, managing and all that.
Yeah.
We're talking 30 plus years later. I think he served his time. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask, you obviously mentioned some of the places where you had a close bond. I'm talking about some different cities. What was your favorite city as far as the attractions, as far as the things to do?
See, now you're going to try to get me in trouble because, I'm a California kid. Any place better than San Diego? You know what I mean? So, living in La Jolla on the water and, life is good. But they all were different for whatever reason. You know what I mean? Milwaukee taught, the Midwest values of family and the traditions that they have are special. Tampa was just tough because of the ballpark.
Right.
And the team I went there and the players I went there thinking I'm going to play with for the next 4 years are gone the first year at the All-Star break, and I'm left alone. That was tough. When you talk about Vinny, Crime Dog, Conseco, and those guys, they're all gone, and I wasn't even there 3 months yet. You know what I mean? And I think that probably would have changed or made a difference in my decision, because at that point it was about setting yourself up. It wasn't the money. It was
Right.
giving yourself a chance to win. You know what I mean? And playing in that World Series that, every kid thinks they're going to be Derek Jeter. We're not going to be Derek Jeter. I remember Robbie Yount saying, you're talking about 22 years, 23 years. One time, I was like, there's no way, we're going to blow that away. But wow, 15 years, one time, and, some people take that for granted that they think that's just going to happen. It just doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. So, I want to ask you about your Silver Slugger Award. So take me back to that. What was that like winning that award, and just take me back to the experience?
Well, like I said, I think you go out there and try to do the best you can every single day, every year. Some years you foul balls off, you miss them. Some years you have injuries. 98 was just a perfect year for not just myself, but for the Padres and the city of San Diego. Up until the World Series, up until like the 8th inning of Game 1, it was a perfect scenario. You know what I mean? So, and that's not to take anything away from the Yankees or Tino for hitting the grand slam. It was just we happened to be one of those teams that had to play against the Yankees, and like NBA, you had to play against the Bulls. And So 98, like I said, I didn't miss balls. I didn't foul them off. It was a year where I stayed healthy the majority of the time. It was a year where everything just sort of came together, and it's some guys have those years every year. I happen to have that year one year, and like I said, it was just where all the ducks lined up in a row and everything worked out.
Do you follow college basketball at all? I know this is a recent question with the Final Four being here recently, and I was over there a couple of days ago. What did you think of the Final Four?
You know what? I one of my brackets I had Gonzaga, and then the other one I had Baylor, and then I don't bet on sports, but then I made a bet on Baylor after I seen the way they played the game to get into the championship game. I mean, just like I said, it started with defense over offense. And I think it flipped, the way sports are now, everyone wants offense and they understand defense wins championships, and being in the right place at the right time, the way they were committed to defense and they played for the name on the front and how athletic they were. They were just, to me, a little bit more of a superior team. Not to take anything from Gonzaga, but I did really think this was after all the years for that small school in that city, and for their coach to go. I thought this was their time, and it just shows. That's the beautiful thing about sports. Who would have picked Baylor at the beginning of the season?
Right.
That's why we play the games.
And from talking to the players, I mean, they've heard it for their whole career there. That some of the seniors, they never get there, and that's obviously the beauty of sports when you can prove people wrong.
I think that's the beauty of life. I think being able to take someone else's negative energy and turn it into a positive for yourself, being able to flip it. And, I think we make so many excuses of when people tell us, well, they said I can't do this or I can't do that, but we are a product of our environment. So that's why it's important for myself to go into our own neighborhoods and interact with these kids, because if they're not getting it from home and no one's giving them anything that's positive in their life, it's hard for them to really imagine that. All they hear is what they can't do. So, I've always been a firm believer in taking someone else's negative energy and using it as a positive.
So I want to ask you, obviously, what are your thoughts so far on this MLB season? And do you like the extra innings rule when you have to start a man on second base?
I'm all for leaving the games the way they were supposed to be played.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you compare players when you're doing different things in different teams, when you're doing different? The only rule I ever liked, I think, since you take all the major sports, was moving out the field goal kicker back, because now you see how important the extra point is. You know what I mean? After a touchdown. But everything else, can't get out of the batter's box, can't do this, it doesn't change the time of the game. And maybe the other rule is, I don't know, you can't take a pitcher, he has to face three batters, a minimum of three batters. But I just think for so long the game's been played the way it was designed to be played. Now we have people tinkering and adjusting and doing all this other stuff. It takes away from the game a little bit. Right. How do you like it? Let me ask you this question. Do you like it?
I mean, for me, I'm a Yankee fan, and we lost. Actually, the Yankees lost on one of them this year against the Orioles. Against the it was the Blue Jays. Yeah, Blue Jays and Orioles. We lost 2 times in extra innings, and I don't really like it because the game will still go along. For example, if one team scores a run, if another team scores a run, it goes right back to square one, which is another extra inning. So I don't understand the standpoint of it, because it can still go along the game even when there's a man on second, because people can score easily depending on how they do. So
but like I said, you have like I said, those people are smart, probably way smarter than I ever could imagine being, and they have a vision and an opinion that matters. And but I'm all for the as long as safety, protocols are kept up because these guys are so big and so fast. We're talking about the contact sports. I don't see why there's a reason to mess with the game.
Right.
It was America's game for a reason. Like I said, out of all the sports, what are you going to do now? Move back to 3-point line even farther because, Dame and Steph can shoot from here. The rules are what they are. The lines were designed for what they were supposed to be. And, just go with it. Quit trying to always, worry about the things that are really important, not changing the game.
Yeah.
To me, it's like comparing LeBron and MJ. I don't think you can do it because of how much things are changing. Same in baseball. If you're going to change elements, it's not the same game to compare things. So I understand where you're coming from there.
Yeah, you know what? I think you made a great comparison when you said LeBron and MJ. It's how do you compare Michael transcended and made the game what it is today? LeBron was one of those guys who idolized him and took what Michael did and had the freakish ability and the mental toughness and the athletic ability that we'll probably never see again, and put it all together. But friend of mine, Charles always said, you don't get to build your own team. Mike wasn't building teams, So I think the comparison is different, I think guys get to go play free. That's the beauty of free agency. But back then, guys did, they hated those teams. They weren't going to a team they hated. They wanted to beat that team any way they could beat it. But, the way people think and do things now is a little bit different. So I don't know how, going back to your question, how you compare errors or players now, because it's so different. I'm a Kings fan. Sacramento Kings fan, and we got 4 free throws against the Lakers, getting 37 or 40 free throws in a game 7 final. I mean, life's not fair. You know what I mean?
It's funny you mentioned Charles Barkley. I was actually sitting with him for a while after the championship game Monday night.
Yeah, Chuck, he's a friend of mine. I played softball games with him. I've known him for a long time. Like I said, I'm a Kings fan. I had 4 on the floor where they would, or right off the floor. He would come up literally during breaks or what's up? During halftime or before the game. Wow. And like I said, he's just a good dude. Like I said, my experience with pro athletes, I would say 98% of them are great people. It's just that 2% that get a bad rap and make it bad for the rest of us. But for the majority, 98% are just good old regular guys. And I'm sure you could attest to that by sitting next to Chuck. You know what? He didn't make you feel like he was bigger than you or more special or more intelligent than you. And that, that's what it's all about. It doesn't cost anything to be a nice and a good person.
Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you, obviously after your playing career, you had the amazing foundation in the wine now, 23 Wine. So I want to ask you first, with this COVID situation still going on, do you guys have any like events planned for the foundation? And also, how did this wine company come about?
Well, I think Katie, who represents it, does the marketing for the wine for E2 family. Brett and his family, tremendous people, super nice. Good Northern California people with Lodi, and it was real easy to work with them. It was real easy to get involved with the wine. I never really thought about it, but I went out there on the picker with Brett. I was able to be, like he says, in the lab. We need more pepper. We need more this. We need more that. With the beaker, like you're in chemistry class, you're going back and forth trying to get something to meet your approval. And I think, for our first run, we did a great job. I'm looking forward to doing it again, but being there, just happen to have the cab right here, being there, and having the from the label to the bottle to the foil, from the cork, you don't realize what goes in, really involved in creating your brand or getting involved with, wine or spirit company. but the events this year, I'm still trying to decide if I'm going to have my golf tournament. Because I want it to be. I live in California, half the time Vegas, half the time probably going to spend more time in Vegas now. It's just I don't know, if I do it in Vegas or I do it in Vegas and Sacramento.
Right.
I just want it to be some type of normalcy. I don't want to be doing this and people are still hurting and going through it. I want people to be safe. There's some other events that I had to cancel and back off of, but I think we'll see what happens the way these vaccinations are going. I'm vaccinated, praise God. So it's we can get vaccinated and get our kids vaccinated and get them back to school, get some type of normalcy. Then I feel it's okay to go out there and make events happen and try to bring awareness to whatever we're bringing awareness towards, always type 1 diabetes, but also getting all the people to be able to be in the same vicinity and be safe. I think that's the number one goal. So, but it's tough because, having a foundation and not being able to put on events to raise money, it makes it tough because now I'm in my pocket all the time, which, like I said, I've been blessed. So whatever I have to do to keep it going.
I don't wanna jump the gun too much, but what's next for you? What other ideas do you have in store? What do you want to do outside of this?
Well, like I said, I have a restore here, Sacramento. I love the hyper wellness brand. I'm having fun with the wine, but I think I'm gonna start to enjoy life a little bit more and make more time for myself, that I'm not ripping and running in so many different directions. We were supposed to get an MLS team in Sacramento, so I had like a fraction of a minority ownership in that. To be able to own a major franchise in your own hometown is special. The wine, the restore, I think, I don't know. I don't think my mind can stay idle. I wake up, I always have all these ideas, but I don't want to spread myself too thin. And whatever I do, I want it to be successful because it is something that I'm representing or something I'm bringing to the public. And as far as restore, the franchise, I love it. I love us being able to help people. It's a one-stop shop compared to me going to 5 different places to get all these things done when I was a player. It's bringing like sort of the professional athlete entities to the commonplace, so to speak. So everyone has the opportunity to live that type of lifestyle if they want to at an affordable price.
So now we do this fun little segment on the show. It's called the rapid fire segment. Do you have time to do a quick rapid fire segment?
Okay, yeah. Let me get ready.
Kawhi Leonard's laugh or Kevin Hart's laugh?
Kevin Hart.
Favorite city to visit right now?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Favorite city to visit outside of where you played?
Tahoe, always.
Favorite memorable game that you played in?
Probably Game 1 World Series, hitting 2 home runs.
Oh wow.
Favorite food?
Mexican. West Coast boy.
So what was your guys' pregame music before heading into a game?
Well, I think we had free run of the jukebox until whatever starting pitcher wanted to hear, and then we let them do their thing.
Who will win the NBA championship and who will be in the finals?
Ooh.
Oh shoot! How you gonna count the Lakers and how you gonna count out New Jersey?
I got the Brooklyn Nets winning.
Brooklyn. I said New Jersey, Brooklyn.
Yeah, I got the Nets winning the whole thing this year. They're too much.
Oh, I know. I didn't. But you know what? You know who's gonna be a surprise, man? I'm gonna tell you. Watch out for Denver. Denver. Now with Gordon on that team, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And JaVale.
Yeah, it's Denver. If it's not the Lakers out of the West, it's gonna be Denver, I think.
Yeah. Thoughts on this year's Padres?
I haven't picked to win it all.
Oh wow.
I haven't
Who
picked
else
a
do you
winner.
think is going to be up there?
Well, the Dodgers are going to be there. Uh, the Yankees are going to be there. And, Tampa, for some reason, Tampa's always going to be there because they're well coached
Yeah.
and they play the right way. But I think when it comes down to it, it's going to be, and I like Toronto too. I think Toronto has a good chance also. But I think the Padres. It's time. It's like Gonzaga. I think it's time for the Padres. I think as soon as they get Tatis's one well-deserved contract, and he's going to get another one of the top 4 players in the game. At his age.
Yeah.
It's just going to be who can stay healthy. It's going to come down who can stay healthy, but that pitching staff San Diego has, and when they get him back from Cleveland, after Tommy John, they're going to be lights out,
Right.
and they're trying to win, and they're going for it. So, I grew up a San Francisco Giant fan, so I'm glad just Dave Roberts, who's a friend of mine, I'm glad he got his ring, but I cannot root for the Dodgers. It's like rooting for the Rams. You know what I mean? I can't. I'm a 49er fan, so it's just hard to root against the Dodgers. But you asked me who might be there: Dodgers, Padres. I think New York, Toronto, Tampa.
Interesting. So, all right, would you consider being a manager or a hitting coach down the line?
I think it would depend on the situation. If I could be a hitting coach for a baseball manager, yes. If I could be a manager and make my own staff, I would love to do that also.
If you could visit one country in the world, what would it be?
Probably Israel.
So the last 2 things here before I let you go, before we let you go, actually we partnered up with 2 companies. One is called Eplin X Cosmetics. If your friends want to join it, get some products there. It's called my aunt runs that company, and the promo code is NR20. So if you want to go check that, I'll send you the link so your friends and all can check it out. And also, we also partner up with the Bucking Beards. It's called. The same promo code is NR20. It's like a men hairstyle for the beards and everything. So we're just trying to help their companies out, and then so we can get more traffic for the show. And so I'll send you both of the links if you guys want to check it out. Same promo code NR20. So
NR20 promo code. Thank you very much. Yeah, like I said, it's all about us. One person helping another person. So I appreciate it. Yeah, send me those links and I'll get them up.
Yeah, and the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and essential workers right now?
Yeah, the essential workers and first responders, I want to say thank you so much for the sacrifice that you guys have made for us as a country, to stay healthy and not to lose more lives. My dad was a fireman. My oldest son is a fireman. And, I just want to say thank you because, you guys put your lives on the lines every single day for us. So for all the first responders and essential workers, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And, stay safe and God bless.
Yeah, well said. And there it is. That wraps up episode 744 with legendary left fielder Greg Vaughn. Go follow him on all social media formats. Obviously, he had a great career in the major leagues, and now he does some awesome stuff with his foundation and his wine. It was truly an honor for you to join the show, and congrats on your opening for the Restore, and really looking forward to seeing what you guys have next in line for that store. But like I said, thank you again, and we would love to have you back as a returning guest so you can meet the full team at some point. So, but you and your family stay safe.
Hey, thank you. God bless to you guys too. Stay safe, and hopefully, normalcy will open up. And during one of my events, you guys to be able to do a show live from either the golf tournament, the comedy show, or whatever we're doing. It'd be an honor to have you guys out live. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I just want to say thank you for you guys for your support with the Hugh Jackson Foundation, because I know that with the Mac Daddy Ryan show, they always post up with the Hugh Jackson Foundation, and we're glad to be part of that too with the foundation. And I just want to say thank you for your support with that.
Oh, thank you to the Mac Daddy show and Big Ryan guys, because I mean, it was just so funny to do that podcast. But I want to thank Mr. Jackson for everything he does.
Yeah.
instead of all of us working alone, it's coming together for us to help one another out. So, big thanks to Mr. Jackson and to, you guys. I want to thank you for, your podcast and continue to be blessed and go strong. You guys are 700 and how many now?
744.
Almost to 1,000. There you go.
It's all about, this is my passion, and it's about hard work and being hard work and getting all the acclimates. So
Yeah, but you know what? Good things happen to good people. So you know what I mean? I'm going to say, you can tell that you guys both are passionate about it, and being so young, I'm going to give you guys a big thank you for knowing the history of sports also. You know what I mean? Even though you're a Yankee fan, I won't hold that.
Oh man! All right, man. Stay safe, and like they said, hopefully you get to meet our full team with the show at some point. So,
All right, yeah. Hey, God bless you guys. Stay safe. Thanks.